All right, listen to this. Chelsea spent £54 million on a winger who, by every measure, has the tools to become one of the most dangerous players in England.
But now onto his right, Neto still dribbling! What a goal! Simply sublime from Pedro Neto!
But here's the crazy part. While he's already pulling strings on the pitch, the club is still out shopping for more wide men, splashing energy on rumors about Garnacho, Xavi Simons from Leipzig, whoever's next on the list. If the team that actually owns Pedro Neto doesn't fully see him, how can the rest of the league? That's where the whole idea of him being underrated really begins, because his value is there, sitting in plain sight, just waiting for people to wake up. And honestly, man, it kind of drives me mad, because you don't throw that kind of money at a player if you don't believe he's special. 7-year contract, record fee for Wolves, and yet the conversation never quite circles back to him as the headline name. For Chelsea, it looked like a gamble. Was it reckless spending? Or was it actually the smartest long-term bet they've made in a while? I lean to the second, because money buys you potential, but recognition is earned game by game, and that's where Neto's case gets really intriguing. He's living in the gap between those two realities. Now, what keeps that gap wide open is the word nobody can avoid: injuries. Neto's career has been carved by those constant stop-starts. One moment he's flying down the wing, looking unstoppable. The next, he's off the pitch for weeks or months. Since 2019, he's missed over 100 games, and those numbers alone plant doubt in people's minds. And I get it. When a player disappears that often, fans get frustrated. But let's be real, it's not about fragility, it's about bad luck. It becomes part of his reputation before he even touches the ball. It's not that fans or pundits deny the skill, it's that they can't shake the idea he's unreliable. And that's a tough stigma to fight. Every muscle strain, every ankle twist is magnified into, see, here we go again. Yet when you actually watch him after recovery, the athleticism is still there, the acceleration hasn't dipped, the explosiveness is intact. That contradiction is why he's trapped in this underrated zone. And personally, I think it says more about how quickly we label players than about Neto himself. His body keeps betraying the narrative, showing he can return and play at the same intensity. But until he strings together seasons without setbacks, the shadow follows him. And here's the irony. While the injuries steal the headlines, the way he plays should be the main story. Neto isn't your stereotypical winger who hugs the touchline and tries to beat a fullback over and over. He's more like a creator disguised as a wide player. Left-footed, yes, but often drifting from the right into central zones, pulling defenders apart with carries that rank in the top tier of the league. The dribbling is smooth, but it's the vision that makes him stand out. He sees spaces early, delivers crosses with precision, and piles up passes into the box at a rate most attacking midfielders would envy. And I gotta say, this is the kind of winger I love watching. He's not just about stepovers and pace, he's about brains. This isn't a guy waiting for service, he is the service. You watch his numbers, over 6 crosses a game with near 30% accuracy, expected assists that stack up with creative 10s. He's constantly dragging opponents out of shape, not by flashy tricks, but by choosing the right angles, the right timing. That's why managers love him. He's chaos with a purpose, not chaos for show. And if you measure him against the actual elite, Salah at Liverpool, Saka at Arsenal, Luis Díaz in his peak months before leaving, Neto doesn't look out of place at all. In fact, in creative metrics, he sits right alongside them. Salah and Saka dominate with goals, sure, but Neto competes in the progressive carries, in key passes, in building attacks rather than finishing them. Luis Díaz brought explosiveness on the left, Neto brings a similar threat on both flanks, plus that tendency to cut inside and feed teammates. And here's where I get opinionated. People keep saying he's not elite. Really? If you're competing with Salah and Saka in creation while playing fewer minutes and in weaker squads, how is that not elite level contribution? The point is, when you look at the league's top wide men, Neto's profile isn't a tier below, it's just different. He's the guy who stitches attacks together while the others finish them. And the fact that this nuance is ignored is exactly why he gets underrated. Because goals scream, assists whisper, and the whispers get drowned out when your team isn't winning titles. This is where the split perception kicks in. Analysts who actually dig into his data see a winger delivering output that competes with the very best.
I think his strengths are incredibly strong. Obviously, his athleticism and his pace is excellent. His quality on the ball when he's dribbling or when he's trying to find a pass at the end of it is excellent.
Coaches praise his adaptability, his work rate, his intelligence, but casual fans, they remember the injuries, they check the goal tally, and they shrug. And I can't blame fans completely. Goals are easy to digest. They're what makes you jump off the couch. But football isn't just goals. It's the runs that create space, the pass before the assist, the timing of a press. That's Neto's world. To some people, he's just busy. To others, he's a rare type of winger who gives balance. And that constant contradiction feeds his underrated tag more than anything. At Wolves, though, there was no contradiction. He was the talisman, the guy the attack flowed
Trying to
through.
feed it on to Neto, right inside the penalty area. Back is there for Neto! Pedro Neto drills it into the bottom corner!
Every progression seemed to pass by his boots. Every counter was sparked by his runs. Fans knew he was their most dangerous outlet. The question wasn't whether he'd start, it was how they'd cope without him. And let me tell you, watching Wolves without Neto back then was like watching a car without an engine. That's the difference. At Chelsea, in contrast, he's become a piece in the puzzle rather than the centerpiece. And maybe that's inevitable in a squad with so many attacking signings, but it changes perception. When you're the man at Wolves and one of many in London, people stop talking about you in the same way. Which is crazy because his skill set hasn't changed, only the shirt has. If anything, the tools he offers are even more valuable in a system that demands width, pressing, and creativity from wide positions. But the shine is dulled by the sheer crowd around him. That crowd now includes names that steal headlines by default. Estevão, the Brazilian prodigy fresh from dazzling at Palmeiras, Estevão and Bynoe-Gittens, and then Nkunku. Still in the squad but already halfway out the door, linked to exits as Chelsea reshape their roster. These are the players Neto is competing against day to day. And that's tough because football loves novelty. The new kid, the shiny prospect, always attracts more hype. Neto isn't the new signing glow anymore. He's the one who has to prove he's not yesterday's news. That's the internal battle. Show you're better than the future stars the club is investing in, while also dealing with the politics of who gets minutes and who gets protected. And if you ask me, that's exactly the kind of test that makes or breaks careers at big clubs. And then there are the transfer rumors. Constant whispers about Chelsea chasing more wide options. Garnacho from United, Xavi Simons from Leipzig, whoever else ends up on the gossip lists. Every link feels like a subtle vote of no confidence in Neto. As if the club is saying, yeah, you're good, but we still want someone else. And that perception sticks. It doesn't matter if he's outperforming teammates in certain metrics, as long as Chelsea are linked with replacements, fans and pundits assume he isn't enough. Personally, I think it's harsh. Chelsea's obsession with stockpiling talent makes sense on paper, but in practice it undervalues guys like Neto who already fit the system. Instead of being seen as part of the solution, he gets framed as someone they need to upgrade on. What gets lost in all that noise is his mentality. You watch his interviews, you see a different side. He doesn't speak like someone fragile or weighed down by doubt. He talks about winning, about building habits, about adapting to the demands of a club like Chelsea. That maturity isn't flashy, but it's crucial, because a winger's career is full of ups and downs. Injuries test you, fans doubt you, clubs chase the next big thing. And if you can still focus on trophies, on hard work, it tells you there's steel behind the smile. Neto has that, and here's my take. That mindset alone is worth as much as half the signings Chelsea keep chasing. He doesn't need to be the loudest personality in the dressing room. He shows it by running, by pressing, by delivering chance after chance. And that attitude matters in a squad that's still searching for identity. So when you pull all of this together, his creative profile, his ability to stand statistically with the elite, his resilience through injuries, his understated mentality, you realize he might be exactly what Chelsea are missing. A consistent, versatile wide man who makes the attack flow without demanding the spotlight. And maybe that's the irony. While Chelsea are busy chasing players like Garnacho at United or Xavi Simons from Leipzig, the winger who could actually change games for them is already wearing blue. Pedro Neto is the definition of underrated, not because he lacks quality, but because the noise around him drowns out the obvious. And the day Chelsea finally stop looking elsewhere and start looking at him, the whole league will see what's been hiding in plain sight all along.